Hello and welcome to this presentation where we are going to be going through Myfitnesspal, just some tips and tricks to make your nutritional tracking a whole lot easier and kind of some do's and don'ts and just some little reminders as well as Myfitnesspal, what we're trying to get used to at the start can be a lot to get used to. So it's just a few little tips and stuff within this presentation that's going to help you in your journey with it. So there's two main focuses when we are tracking food. The first one is our calories and the second one is our macronutrients. So that is our carbs, our fat and our protein intake. This will all be given to you at the start, your nutritional goals and your plan as well for that. So I will give you your set calories and your set macronutrients. So when we are tracking, what are the benefits? So the benefits of tracking is that the main one is that it gives us education and awareness around food and food's nutritional value. With that then, as we get into tracking more, we can become more aware of nutrient versus calorie dense foods and what's going to be the best bang for our buck when it comes to our nutrition, our health and our goals. Along with that, a lot of time, better education around food usually means better nutritional choices and better nutrition in general. As we become more aware of certain foods, what is going to be a lot better for us and what's going to help us a lot further when it comes to our goals and our overall health. And it is a really good tool in that as well. With that as well, so with the it gives an increase into low or challenging nutritional areas. So whereby you may find you struggle, we then can figure out where that point of our challenge is. So what's the biggest challenge for you when it comes to your nutrition, and then we can figure out a pathway of how to actually help you with that. So if it's a case whereby you may not be consuming a lot of protein, you feel like you are constantly hungry, don't feel full after meals, but when we check your tracking, we realize that, okay, we are actually not eating that much protein at all. So let's have a look at it and let's try and improve on it. Small little things like that, maybe it might be in terms of our veggies, it might be in terms of our healthy fats, etc. Also important to remember that tracking is a tool for your toolbox. It's not the be all and end all. It is a great place to start when it comes to becoming more aware of our food, calories in food, and just our nutritional values of food as well. But it's not everything. So servings and sizes. So this is just something to look at, I suppose, when you are tracking food, and not everybody. A lot of clients get this wrong at the start, and you know what? I don't blame any of you because it can be really hard to understand. So whereby we see, let's say, the brown bagel, its serving size is one bagel, number of servings one. So that means we've consumed one bagel. Perfect. Grand. Ideal. In terms of our jam, a lot of the time people will fail to check the serving size. So with this, I have had 28 grams of jam. And if I don't change serving size back to 1 gram and then put in 28 grams, a lot of the time our serving size might say 100 here and we might end up putting in like 2 or 3 here. So let's say for example, this is bacon medallions, right? And it says 100 grams here and we had 3 medallions. So we assume if we just put in number servings 3 here, it means we had 3 medallions. But it's actually going through grams. So we need to be aware of this as well, as that our food is done through grams. Fair enough, with the bagel, it's a little bit different because it's weighing one bagel. And I've input that data myself, so I know that is correct. Whereby we do need to make sure that when we are looking at the serving sizes, we change the serving size to 1 gram and then we put in the amount of grams we had in the number of servings. And that will mean that we will be tracking it accurately at 28 grams. And there is our calories. And then it goes through our carbs, our fats, and our protein for each food. So it gives us a breakdown of each food. So it's really, really important to remember that, serving and serving sizes, just check what it says when you scan it and make sure that it is actually matching, or it is the accurate number that you're looking for as well. So then we go into weighing food. So cooked versus raw. What way should we weigh food? What will we do with food? When should we weigh food? Always weigh food raw. And there's 2 reasons for this. This is because meat loses water as it's cooked and carbs gain water as it's cooked, which means the weight of each food pre-cooked versus cooked is always different. However, on the back of packaging, the I'd say 9 times out of 10 always say as sold. And this is what's so important to remember, is that you need to check the back of the packaging with what's coming up on MyFitnessPal. And a great example I always use is that I got this cheese from Lidl and I scanned it. And if I didn't look, I would have been like, yeah, sure, that's it. And I looked at it and it came up as parsnips. I was not eating parsnips, guys. I was eating cheese. So it's just important to remember to check and make sure everything's actually matching. Have a look at the back of the nutritional value pack, and where it says as sold means as its original, sold um texture, or whatever that word is that I'm looking for, state, I suppose. A lot of the time everything is given its value as raw, so let's stick with the raw versions of everything. This might mean having to separate your food out slightly from if you're cooking like for other people as well. It's like, just what I usually do is, if I'm cooking a whole load of chicken breasts and I'm cooking for the family as well, what I will do is I just put my chicken with a bit of tin foil around it, just so I remember which one's mine. It's not that hard to do. It depends on people's goals. If you want to make sure you're 100% accurate with your food, with your nutrition, so you can reach your goals, these are the small little things that you will have to do. When you start doing them at first, it's pain in the ass, but then it just becomes so much simpler as you go on. It just becomes part and parcel of it. Also remembering that tracking is not like a lifetime thing. It is just a tool for a set period of time as well. So when does tracking work? Tracking works when you weigh everything correctly, and this is including the nibbles, the licks, the sips of everything you've had. If you're tracking, you need to be accurate with your tracking. The likes of licking off some peanut butter off a spoon when you're making sandwiches for the kids, the likes of nibbling at food while you're cooking it, this all adds up. And I'm not saying you need to be completely regimented in this, but like, you also need to be aware of these little things that you're doing. And you keep, if you are, saying you're tracking your food accurately and you're still not losing weight, and this is your goal, just be more aware of what you're actually doing throughout the day. Are you taking a few nibbles and licks and sips and dips, etc.? And if you are, try pull that back. Another time when tracking works is that when you double check the packaging with the data on the screen. Like I said, packet of cheese is not parsnips. So just making sure everything is matching and everything is weighing the same. What I usually do for a quick scan to make sure that all numbers are matching is I will change the serving size on Myfitnesspal to 100 grams, and I'll look at the back of the packaging, which always says 100 grams anyways, and just look and just make sure our calories matching, our fats, protein and carbohydrates matching. If they're not, just clicking the top and marking that it's incorrect or wrong, and then inputting the right data. Yes, it is a pain in the ass, but I'd rather be accurate with it than, not accurate with it, and it could end up, it could be the difference between you being in a deficit and you being in a surplus. Another reason then another time when tracking works is when you actually adhere to your targets, so your calories and your macronutrients, rather than going over them or not sticking to them. So when does tracking not work? Tracking your calories does not work when you guesstimate your consumption that you've had. So this is whereby you don't weigh everything. You're just kind of going, oh yeah, that's probably roughly 20 grams. Unless you've been tracking for a very long period of time, you're not going to know what is 20 grams and what's 30 grams. Because let's be fair, the difference between 20 grams of cheese and 30 grams of cheese is not that much. The difference between 20 grams of peanut butter or Nutella is not very different compared to 30 grams. So it's just being aware of that, like guesstimating at the start, it's not going to work. When you log everything in at the end of the day, I can tell you here right now, if I was to sit down tonight and go, what did I have, everything I had today, I would not remember everything. I would not remember everything down to a T in terms of grams. So it's so important that when you are tracking, that you track it in before consuming. So as you go, this method is more proactive than reactive. So when we're planning out a meal and we're making the meal, we're tracking in as we go. We're starting to see what's fitting in, what's not fitting in. And this is so important, especially at the end of the day when you're making, let's say, your last meal. If you don't track everything in as you're cooking or before you start making it, you start to realize then when you track it in after eating or consuming or cooking it, it's like, oh, I was actually 200 calories over. So now I'm actually 200 calories over for my day today. Whereas I could have actually pulled back slightly by, reducing the amount of rice I had in that meal slightly, reducing the amount of sauce I had in that meal slightly, maybe not having that little piece of chocolate after dinner. And this is the difference between when it works and when it doesn't work. And it's just important to remember this as well. So another one then is when you track food in after eating and cooking. So we just went through that. And then when you track in everything in measurements as cups and spoons. Cups and spoons, you may as well be trying to fill up water outside with a sieve. Like, it's just not, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So it is important to remember to track in everything as grams, use your food scale, and work from there. Cups are so, like, what I would call a cup is probably a mug. So it's so important, just go by the gram, nail it in the head, done. The other one as well is making sure that when you are tracking stuff in, is that you're tracking in if you've made something, and this is kind of going on to when you're tracking a meal out as well. If you're making something from home, and let's say it is the likes of a homemade lasagna, you are better off breaking it down ingredient by ingredient than searching up someone else's homemade lasagna, because let's be fair, no one makes lasagna the same. So it is important to weigh up the ingredients piece by piece. So this is like for when you're out for a meal, and how to break down a food. So like I could easily search up a beef burger and input it into MyFitnessPal. And is it going to be accurate? 100% not. Is it going to be right? No. It is important. Like, obviously, when you go out for a meal, it's not going to be 100% accurate. But if we break it down ingredient by ingredient rather than by the whole meal, we're going to be so much better off. So if we look at this burger here, we look at the brioche bun, we look at some onions, we have some cheese, we have some obviously the beef, we have, I think it's tomato, some lettuce, we have one or two sauces as well. So let's break it down, right? So with this beef burger, we have a beef burger bun. So this is like brioche, roughly 200 calories. So I would search up a brioche bun, see what type of calories are coming up, and roughly try figure out which one it is. Like, realistically, sometimes what I would do is, if I'm really stuck on figuring out how many calories would be in it, I'd actually Google and just say roughly how many, and I'd kind of go through it there. Sometimes you will find like a blue or green tick beside some foods. They are verified foods, and they can be a good way to do it as well. Beef burger, so the actual beef itself, I'd roughly estimate that as 250 calories. I just look through and try to figure out, from your own tracking when you're at home, you'll be able to see the size of the beef burger, how many grams you think roughly are in it, and then track from there. Then we have our cheese as well. And I know like 150 calories for cheese sounds like a lot, but remember, this is not the type of cheese whereby we have our lighter cheese. This is a meal out, so like chefs aren't going to use the lighter stuff. So just remembering that as well. Sauces, roughly 50 grams is probably a little bit more. We have our ketchup, and we have some sort of a mayo, I think, or something. So just track them in as well. And also remember the hidden ones, which is our oils for cooking. So although we might cook this beef burger at home in an air fryer or an oven, meals or restaurants are going to cook them in the best, nicest, quickest way possible, which is our oils. So just remember to track in roughly maybe 100 grams for oils there. So that could be how you could break down a meal for when you're going out for a meal. Then some top tips for when you are going out for a meal. The main thing is that you enjoy the meal and you're not freaking out about it. It's not going to ruin all your progress. It's one meal, so don't panic about it. Like they say, the cheesy saying, like, one meal ain't going to make you skinny, one meal ain't going to make you fat. But a few tips for when you are going out so you can enjoy yourself and also, find that bit of balance is like, save calories by opting for sugar-free drinks or water. Like, there is nothing better than a pint of My Waddy Orange, in my opinion. But like, if you like the likes of your fizzy drinks, go for the Coke Zeros, go for the, Pepsi Maxes, 7-Up Free, all these, they taste the exact same. And I know someone's going to fight me on that, but I genuinely think they taste the exact same. For like 0 calories. So I think it's like, it is a game changer. I think it's a no-brainer, to be honest. Also remember, you don't have to go for the healthier option just because it's on the menu and you have goals. If you really want something, honor it. Make smart choices around it. Maybe it's the case that you do want to get the burger, but maybe it's like, I don't really want the chips. Then just don't ask for the chips. Ask for a side of vegetables or something like that. Also, being mindful when you're eating. Just because the meal is in front of you doesn't mean you need to consume the whole thing. So just be aware of that, of like, slow down during your meal out. Enjoy yourself. Drink plenty throughout the meal, and make sure that you are mindful throughout the meal and chewing your food properly. So if eating a meal out, aim to consume more protein earlier in the day. And the reason for this is most meals out are just mainly carbs. Like, I love a pasta carbonara, or any pasta dish on a night out, or a meal out. Mainly it is carbohydrates, and that's perfectly fine. There's no panic in that, but it's also remembering that, to try and push in a little bit more protein throughout the day. This is going to help us feel fuller for longer. We're also making sure that we're not actually starving ourselves for the meal out either. So obviously we're not just looking at the start of the day being protein, 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 protein. We're looking at protein and carbohydrates, but slightly reduce our carbohydrates intake and up our protein slightly, and that's just going to save us as well. And then we can now also enjoy the meal without feeling guilty, because we don't want to feel guilty going out for a meal. Remember that tracking is a tool, it is not a long-term lifestyle thing. It is for education, awareness, and to develop better skills around food and food measurements. So use your tracking time wisely. So these are just reminders then. So make sure your diary on Myfitnesspal is set to public so I can see your diary each week, and then we can go through it and pick out anything that we might need to change around, or might alter little things in that as well. If you haven't added me as a friend on Myfitnesspal already, then please do, so I can actually see your diary and analyze it each week. My name on it is Sinead, so ITBE. We've dropped the F for in fit there. I set that up yonks ago, so that was before Fitbit was even a thing. And make sure and set your calorie and macro goals that I've set for you by going into more and then clicking goals, and you can change them there. That'll just make sure that we are actually adhering to our goals that we've set out. In the vault, there is a ebook on a complete guide to Myfitnesspal, so you can have a read through that in your own time and make sure if you wanted update on anything or anything like that. That is everything for this presentation. If you have any questions, please just drop me a message, and I will see you in the next one.